Hello everyone, my name is Rebecca and welcome back to... Okay, I gotta take this thing off, it doesn't feel right. Today I'll be talking about the use of soundtrack and score on BBC Sherlock and how even those elements support TJLC. I've been looking forward to this one for a really long time. My first video project for the fandom was actually analyzing one of the soundtrack songs in early 2015, so this has been a long time coming. In case you aren't familiar with the different terms, a soundtrack refers to pre-existing songs that are incorporated to a TV show or film, while a score consists of the songs that are written specifically for that TV show or film. Both are used on BBC Sherlock, and both absolutely support reading a romance between John and Sherlock. I'm going to start with the soundtrack since there's a little bit less to cover there. This first song I actually only came across this past week. It was just the 6th anniversary for A Study in Pink, and the original trailer was circulating around. I'll play you a little bit of it.
The game, Mrs. Hudson, is on.
Time to play.
Oh, I am playing. My name's Sherlock Holmes and the address is 221B Baker Street.
Now, I actually already knew that song, so watching that trailer was pretty entertaining. It's a song called Uprising by Muse, and is, like you would expect, about upsetting the system. It includes lines like, and and the chorus of the song goes, so right off the bat, they're advertising the show like it will cause some big upset for some reason. The first use of a soundtrack song within the actual show was at the start of A Scandal in Belgravia in the form of Moriarty's ringtone, which is Staying Alive by the Bee Gees.
Do you mind if I get that?
Oh, no, please. You've got the rest of your life.
It's extremely on the nose. Everyone involved in this scene will be staying alive through the episode, including Irene, who's the one making the call. So if the song is first used to tell the audience that characters will be staying alive, it would only make sense if that carried over into any future scenes with this song. Like, I don't know. We can try to understand the New York Times. Moriarty talks about the song in the context of finding life boring, but we're meant to remember its earlier meaning and apply it here. Both Sherlock and Moriarty will be staying alive. There are another couple of soundtrack songs in the Reichenbach Fall. Firstly, the song that plays when Moriarty is stealing the crown jewels is called The Thieving Magpie. Then there's Sinner Man by Nina Simone, which plays in the build-up to Moriarty's trial. The song is about a man trying to find refuge from his sins. The characters are all placed in different parts of the song. Sherlock is obviously the sinner trying to avoid his demise.
Sinner man, where you gonna run to? Where you gonna run to? All on that day.
The first person he looks to for refuge is The Rock.
Will I run to the rock? Please
Ready?
find me a run to the rock.
The Rock is John. They cut out an entire section where The Rock refuses to help the man, because of course John would never do that, and Sherlock hasn't actually gone to him for help. The song skips an entire verse after that as well, and goes directly into the man going to the Lord for help. Now in my TRF video, I explained that I think Sherlock went to Mycroft for help, only to be turned down or told to wait it out. In addition to that being supported by Mycroft helping Sherlock fake his death, but being unable to do anything else, the main coding for that is this portion of the song. The Lord is Mycroft. As the Lord replies, we cut to the reason why Mycroft is unable to help, because of the devil.
Don't you see me praying? Don't you see me down here praying? But the Lord said, go to the devil. The Lord said, go
Moriarty is the devil here, waiting to make Sherlock pay for his mistakes. As an aside, if we ever hear devils or demons mentioned again from here on out, we should know that they're meant to invoke Moriarty. He's a demon who's been waiting for a very long time.
The roads we walk have demons beneath. And yours have been waiting for a very long time.
Anyway, we cut to Sherlock and John on the way to the Old Bailey, and the song continues to talk about the man running towards the devil, cementing the roles of Sherlock and Moriarty in this song.
So I ran to the devil. He was waiting. I ran to the devil. He was
Remember,
ran to the devil.
remember. Remember what they
As John tells Sherlock not to be clever, the song shifts to the man crying out to the Lord to bring down his power, because Sherlock needs help to escape this situation.
Don't try to be clever, and please just keep it simple and brief.
Can't forbid the star witness that the trial should come across as intelligent.
Intelligent, fine. Let's give smart ass a wide berth.
For the scene with Moriarty acting predatory towards the guard, the song suggestively repeats the phrase, "oh yeah," multiple times, adding to the sexual undercurrent of this entire scheme.
Would you mind slipping your hand into my pocket?
And the song finishes off early with the man running to bodies of water for refuge.
I ran to the river. It was boiling around the sea. It was boiling around the sea.
Crown versus Moriarty. Please proceed to Court's 10.
In the canon, the place where Holmes and Moriarty apparently both die is referred to at least once as the Reichenbach Cauldron, which fits that imagery of a boiling sea and hints that the ultimate showdown of this episode will be a retelling of that scene. Now, even antis will admit that those last two songs were chosen purposefully, but for some reason, when we get to Series 3, they have a harder time seeing it that way. That's probably because rather than hinting at something case-related, they foreshadow the romance. Take the song that plays for Sherlock and John's reunion scene, Donde estás, Yolanda? The version they went with has vocals by China Forbes, a woman. There's been a meta written on this by Tyke O'Brien, which you can find linked below, but if you look up the translation to the lyrics, they're unambiguously romantic. And specifically, China is singing about missing the love of another woman. They could have picked literally any song for this reunion, or even the version with a man singing, but they picked the one about gay pining. When Sherlock makes his way over to John, you can very quietly hear the lyrics from the second verse.
My area, what do you suggest?
You gotta possibly go home, but maybe you'd like my personal recommendation.
This last one on the list is a favorite of mine.
It is, you might even say, like a face from Zip.
Let's hear those again a little bit louder and with a translation.
Me dicen que me hacías en un carro Irlanda, muy guapo y arrogante, y todos los que silbaban, si un día te encontrara, no sé qué puedo hacer, no sé, me vuelvo loco si ya no te vuelvo a ver.
It definitely fits the situation, and considering that it stops when Sherlock walks away, we can assume this song is meant to be representing his point of view. He doesn't know what to do now that he's been reunited with John, but he can't live without him. It just strengthens the romantic undertones of this scene. The chorus of the song plays when John lunges at Sherlock.
¿Dónde estás, Yolanda? ¿Qué pasó? ¿Qué pasó, Yolanda? Te busqué, Yolanda. Y no estás, Yolanda.
Here it is again with the translation.
¿Dónde estás, Yolanda? ¿Qué pasó, Yolanda? Te busqué, Yolanda. Y no estás, Yolanda.
This kind of works from either point of view, and again strengthens this as a tragically romantic scene. The Sign of Three has more soundtrack songs than any other episode. Most of them can be found during the Stag Night. In the Loudest Subtext in Television Google Drive folder I keep referring to, there's a meta breaking down all of the Stag Night songs. And since I couldn't identify any of the songs but the last one, I'm crediting that meta for this portion. The song that plays in the first pub is Shakin' All Over by Johnny Kidd.
Oh, we're on a schedule.
You'll thank me.
Let's listen to some of the lyrics again so you can hear them a little better.
When you move in right up close to me, that's when I get the shakes all over me. Quivers down the backbone, I got the shakes down the knee bone. Yeah, the tremors in the thigh bone, shaking all over.
What a wonderful way to lead into the Stag Night. After the dubstep break, we get Fried My Little Brains by The Kills.
over there. What?
This one is a little bit more vague, but seems to be suggesting that nothing will happen tonight, even though it's the perfect opportunity and both of them want something to happen.
I've got 10 minutes. You better get me good. Pull out my little milk tea. I want good. I won't move over. I won't get gone. I won't move over.
Next is Crystalline Green by Goldfrapp.
How long? Sorry? Your visit. Estimate approximate volume discharge.
Stop talking now.
The lyrics seem to suggest an extreme closeness and familiarity, while also hinting at something more and letting an opportunity slip through your fingers. I'm embarrassing myself right now, but yeah, it's for the cause. The next song that plays is MIA's Galang.
Quick, one more. You mustn't see.
There are a lot of things happening in the lyrics here, but this portion has to be my favorite.
London police beat the sign now. Boys are raw, one girls are raw. They say if it's gonna run through, work is gonna save you. Praying you will go through something to help you. Don't let.
Well then, this song is especially fitting with lines about London and Sherlock thinking the work will save him, when the real solution is just to, you know, never mind, move on. The last Stag Night song is again the only one I recognized. We Found Love by Rihanna.
I know Ash! Don't tell me I don't.
You can only hear the beat there, but here are the lyrics.
Yellow diamonds in the light. I was standing side by side as a shadow crosses mine. What it takes to come alive. It's the way I'm feeling, I just can't deny. But I've gotta let it go. We found love in a hopeless place. We found love in a hopeless place. We found love in a hopeless place. We found love in a hopeless place.
Could it get any more explicit? The final soundtrack song on the show so far is the now infamous December 1963 by Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons. This is the one I analyzed back in 2015 and is one of my favorite pieces of evidence on the show. Again, they could have picked any song for the reveal that John and Mary are having a baby, but they picked this one with lyrics that are all too fitting. Here are some of the highlights.
Shut up. Just shut up.
Sorry.
How did he notice before me?
I'm panicking.
Don't panic. None of you panic. Absolutely.
You're right.
You can even hear at one point that the music doesn't mesh with the actors singing. So they were more concerned about the music matching certain moments. This is all intentional. And now we move on to the score. My friend Dan, the Celestial Mother, was a huge help to me in researching for this section, particularly for character themes and for Series 1. Go check him out. I'm going to start this section by introducing you to some of the character motifs, since they're going to be showing up a lot, and I want you all to know what I'm referring to. Let's start with John's theme. It's always a variation of these notes. There's also an undercurrent to John's theme, which Dan pointed out to me switches between two notes, which is pretty unusual for music. It implies that he's stuck and can't even move on to a new chord by himself. Then we have Sherlock's theme, which again is usually a variation of this run. Dan pointed out to me, there is a second half of Sherlock's theme, and you'll already recognize these notes. John's chords are literally embedded into Sherlock's theme. Whenever we hear these notes on the show, I'm going to be referring to them as John's chords. There's also another version where the two themes are melded together, which I'll be referring to as the Johnlock theme. More on why you recognize that later. The next two character motifs are basically what inspired M-Theory. A lot of what I talk about with them will be taken from M-Theory, but I'll be adding something new in my analysis of one of them. Let's start with Mycroft, who, like Sherlock, has both a main and a background motif. Mycroft's main theme are the little whereas everything else is the background. The background is more common and refers to Mycroft being involved with something against his will. When you hear the actual little play, that means that Mycroft is acting of his own accord. And finally, we round off with Moriarty's theme. If those notes sound familiar to you, there's a good reason. The first three are identical to John's theme. These characters' themes are so similar for a reason. It's telling us that the two characters have the same driving motivation, winning Sherlock's affections, but have different tones, and that their attempts will have different outcomes. Their themes are written as rivals. They play with that a lot in a few of the episodes. You'll notice I'm leaving off themes for a few of the characters, but as I'll explain when we get there, that's because those themes don't actually refer to those characters. There are a few other themes thrown in throughout that I'll be referring to as well, but I'll also be explaining those when we get there. This is by no means a comprehensive analysis of the score. These are just some of the obvious highlights and takeaways from listening to the music with the mindset that it's meant to tell us something. So let's start off with A Study in Pink. Like Dan pointed out to me, the first episode is mostly just a back and forth between Sherlock and John's themes. It serves to introduce the audience to the concept that different motifs represent different characters, and that the main driving heart of the score and the show is the relationship between John and Sherlock. Since we open the show with John, it makes sense that the first score we're introduced to is his theme. I refer to the version that plays here as John's heartbreak theme. It's John at his loneliest and most helpless, and will play whenever he feels this way again, or when someone feels this way about him. When we're introduced to Sherlock, we hear his theme for the first time. When this version of Sherlock's theme plays, rather than a more subdued version, it usually denotes that Sherlock is doing something out there, like whipping a corpse, or that he has a plan going. We get a more subdued version of Sherlock's theme when John and Sherlock meet. Because remember, this first series is from John's point of view. He's slowly being drawn into Sherlock's world.
Sometimes I don't talk for days on, and would that bother you? Potential flatmates should know the worst about each other. Sherlock's theme picks up in intensity when Sherlock winks at John and dashes off. The name's Sherlock Holmes, and the address is 221B Baker Street. Afternoon.
John's interest just spiked. Sherlock's theme plays again when he gets news of an exciting case, again fitting the idea that this version of his theme plays when something adventurous is going on.
Brilliant! Yes! Ah, false.
It's pretty normal for John's theme to play when he's left alone, but when he's left alone in Baker Street, it isn't the heartbreak version of his theme that plays, but one that matches the tone of Sherlock's theme in Sherlock and John's meeting scene. His theme is already changing to better match Sherlock's, which fits Sherlock propositioning John to join him in the adventure.
Not your housekeeper.
You're a doctor. In fact, you're an army doctor.
Yes.
Any good?
Sherlock's theme plays again as they leave for the case.
Want to see some more?
Oh, God, yes.
The music then smoothly transitions back into John's chords once they get into the car.
Okay, you've got questions.
Yeah, where are we going?
Crime scene, next.
They're truly melding into a unit already. Like Dan pointed out to me, at the end of the first crime scene, we hear the first iteration of the Johnlock theme, as talking to John helps Sherlock make a break in the case.
Serial killer's always hard. You have to wait for them to make a mistake.
Can't just wait.
Oh, we're done waiting. Look at her. Really, look. Houston, we have a mistake. Get on to Cardiff. Find out who Jennifer Wilson's family and friends were. Find Rachel.
Of course, yeah, but what mistake?
Pink!
John doesn't know this though, and his theme picks back up as he's left alone. It's not quite as sad as the version that played at the start of the episode, at least not until he's forced to admit that he can't make his way home alone.
Do you know where I could get a cab? It's just, well, my leg.
We first get Mycroft's theme when John picks up the phone to speak to him.
Do you see it?
The presence of the little indicates that Mycroft is working of his own accord here. He's trying to protect Sherlock. The kidnapping scene goes back and forth between John and Mycroft's themes.
Asking where I'm going?
None at all.
Trust issues, it says here.
What's that?
When you walk with Sherlock Holmes, you see the battlefield. You've seen it already, haven't you?
That is until John looks down at his perfectly steady hand and we hear Sherlock's background notes. When John gets back to Baker Street, we hear the Johnlock theme again. He's settling into their new life together. Sherlock's theme plays again when he lures John back onto the case with him, and as soon as he says, "I said dangerous and here you are," the Johnlock theme starts up again.
What about her?
She said, you get off on this, you enjoy it.
And I said dangerous, and here you are.
Damn it.
The most intense version of Sherlock's theme plays during Sherlock's and John's first chase through London, and it's never been used again. It's the highest peak of adventure, the closest connection.
Wait, sorry.
Hello, John.
And even in this version, you can still hear John's chords. I think we'll probably hear this version of Sherlock's theme again once they've resolved things. After the chase is finished and Sherlock and John are giggling in the middle of the road, we once again hear the Johnlock theme.
What? Nothing, just welcome to London.
Got your breath back?
Ready when you are.
So much of their relationship is embedded in this score, but the music can also signify a threat. As the cabbie lures Sherlock into the car with him, we hear Moriarty's notes for the first time. He's the one behind this, so it makes sense. The music then switches between John and Moriarty's themes for a little while.
Oh, I like this bit. Because you don't get it yet, do you? But you're about to.
No, Detective Inspector Lestrade, I need to speak to him. It's important.
I have a sponsor.
You have a what?
For every life I take, money. Really? What do you think? Can you beat me?
And it highlights the difference between Moriarty trying to impress Sherlock with dangerous situations and John trying to keep him safe. When the cabbie reveals Moriarty's name, his notes are concretely tied to him. Dan pointed out to me that after Sherlock realizes that John was the one to save him, the music switches from case music to a more subdued version of Sherlock's theme, probably indicating that he now feels more personally involved in the situation, rather than seeing it as a puzzle.
I didn't find until I was in immediate danger, though, it's a strong moral principle. You're looking for a man probably with a history of military service and nerves of steel.
When Mycroft shows up at the parking lot, we hear his background music mixed with Moriarty's notes.
I always tell a good Chinese by something in the bottom third of the door handle.
Sherlock, that's him. That's the man I was talking to you about.
I know exactly who that is. So...
Which again is basically what sparked M-Theory. The score ties Mycroft and Moriarty together. As we end off the episode with Sherlock and John side by side, ready to take on more adventures, we hear Sherlock's theme close out the episode. Since you kind of understand now what each theme and versions of the themes refer to now, I'm gonna ease up a little bit on explaining each instance and just point out what theme is playing when. Otherwise, we're gonna be here all day. So the first main motif we hear in The Blind Banker is the Johnlock theme when Sherlock and John head to the bank, indicating that Sherlock is there because of his relationship with John. We get Sherlock's theme when he's popping around like a ferret. And the John theme as they leave. It's actually pretty common for John's theme to play during transitions. He's central to the narrative. The Johnlock theme plays as Sherlock and John run towards the code wall together.
I found it.
And then we get Mycroft's theme when it's revealed that the wall has been painted over, meaning that he's involved.
It's been painted over?
Mycroft's background also plays when Su-Lin is talking about her relationship with her brother, driving home the mirror between Su-Lin and Jiju, and Sherlock and Mycroft.
We could work for the Black Lotus, or starve on the streets like beggars. My brother has become their puppet.
Whenever John and Sherlock are trying to decipher the book code, a version of John's theme plays. I don't remember if I covered this in my sexual innuendo video or not, but the priceless hairpin, whose value depends on who owned it, is definitely a little suggestive, especially when it's constantly tied to John's theme. Not all men have dicks, but they refer to John's a lot, so. It's really funny that when John indirectly asks Sarah out, Sherlock's background notes start playing.
And I don't have one tonight.
A book that everybody would own.
When Sherlock and Sarah are fighting with each other and Sherlock is still trying to decipher the book code, John's theme plays once again.
You and John, you solve puzzles for a living.
Consulting detective.
Oh.
Finally, John's heartbreak theme plays as Sherlock unties Sarah, and John and Sarah continue their date and leave Sherlock alone. Again, it can relate to people being heartbroken over John, too.
We'll just slip off. No need to mention us in the report.
In The Great Game, there's a lot of interplay between Sherlock, John's, and Moriarty's themes. When John sees that there's been an explosion in Baker Street, his theme starts playing.
In central London. As yet, there are no reports of it.
And as usual, John's theme plays as they head back to Baker Street. Now, when Moriarty lets the first victim call for help once they've solved the case, a strange version of John's theme in Moriarty's key plays. It's probably foreshadowing that John will be the final Pip.
Well done, you!
It plays again in the transition to the abandoned car in the next case. During Sherlock's blood experiment, the Johnlock theme plays again. That one's probably a bit of a canon reference. Holmes was experimenting with blood when he first met Watson, so this signifies that the story has been about their relationship since 1881. We again get a back and forth between Sherlock and John's themes, with the John Locke theme mixed in there for a little while.
You were right. The bacteria got into her another way.
What? Sherlock? What? We've got deadlines.
But you've not taken anything.
This is interrupted by the Moriarty notes when the gallery owner mentions his name.
Moriarty.
When we reach Joe Harrison's explanation of what happened to Andrew West, who you'll remember are Mycroft and Sherlock mirrors respectively, we again hear Mycroft's background music, solidifying Joe as a Mycroft mirror.
But that night, after a few pints, he really opened up. He told me about these missile plans. Beyond top secret. He showed me the memory stick. He waved it in front of me.
When Sherlock messages Moriarty about meeting up at the pool, we hear the John Moriarty hybrid theme again, since this is where John will be the victim. As John comes out, we hear a panicked version of his theme, signifying both that he's in danger and that Sherlock is shaken at the possibility that John could betray him like this.
John. What the hell? Bet you never saw this coming. What would you like me?
The rest of the episode is punctuated by Moriarty's theme at poignant moments.
You gave me my number. I thought you might call.
Your sniper. Pull that trigger, Mr. Moriarty, then we both go up.
And he's sweet. I can see why you like having him around. But then people do get so sentimental about their pets.
Then you could cherish the look of surprise on my face. Because I'd be surprised, Sherlock. Really, I would. I'm just a teensy bit disappointed.
We've already discussed staying alive, so we can move ahead to Moriarty's notes playing as he threatens Irene.
I will find you, and I will skin you.
The music that plays during the case montage at the beginning of A Scandal in Belgravia will play again when Sherlock is preparing to meet Irene Adler, meaning that both of these situations are just cases to Sherlock.
My wife seems to be spending a very long time at the office.
Boring.
I think my husband might be having an affair.
Yes.
What are you doing?
Going to battle, John. I need the right armor. Nope.
When Sherlock heads out to face the press and they all see him as the eccentric detective in the funny hat for the first time, his theme plays. When we see Irene caressing Sherlock's photograph and calling up Moriarty, telling him that it's time to start tormenting him, we hear the background portion of Irene's theme.
Hello. I think it's time, don't you?
The meaning of Irene's theme evolves over the course of the episode. At first, it's meant to signify Irene as an adversary. We see here that her main goal is to beat Sherlock, shown literally with the riding crop. Like I said though, the meaning slowly shifts over time in ways that will become obvious. For now though, as per usual, John's theme plays as we cut back to Baker Street. His theme plays again when we cut to the hiker.
Sir, phone call for you.
Like what's happened with Mycroft already, this is done here to signify that the hiker is a John mirror. Sherlock's theme plays as he deduces the palace worker for the same reason. Irene's theme plays again when Sherlock first sees her picture, and again she's introduced as an adversary. Not a love interest, but someone who will drive a wedge between John and Sherlock.
Nothing whatsoever.
Then you should be paying more attention.
There are a few more jokes in the score, like John's theme playing when Irene heads into the closet. Sherlock's theme plays both for the punching scene and for the slow motion action scene. Irene's theme plays through Sherlock's helpless nightmare.
Definitely the new sexy.
But more importantly, continues to play once he's woken up, when his first thought is of John.
John? John!
What are you... What? No. Back to bed. You'll be fine in the morning. Just sleep.
Of course I'll be fine. I am fine. I'm absolutely fine.
Yes, you're great. Now, I'll be next door if you need me.
Why would I need you?
No reason at all.
The particular version of Irene's theme that plays in this scene is what will play again at the very end of the episode, tying this scene to that one. More on that when we get there. Later, after Irene has died, Sherlock plays Irene's theme himself. He says he's doing it to think, but he really is thinking to distract himself from feelings, just not the feelings that John imagines.
What are you thinking about?
The theme notably continues to play as John asks about Sherlock's romantic past.
Has he ever had any kind of girlfriend, boyfriend, a relationship ever?
Showing that the theme is indeed shifting purpose. It's more and more about Sherlock's heart as it goes on. Since Irene and Sherlock are mirrors, this makes sense. Again, this isn't really about Irene. Sherlock has been acting heartbroken for ages.
I'd say he was heartbroken, but, well, he's Sherlock. He does all that anyway.
So this theme is relating to Sherlock and John's pining for each other. It plays again very intensely when it's revealed that Sherlock overheard John and Irene's conversation, when he sees John resign himself to his feelings for him.
I don't think so. Do you?
That moment is interrupted when Sherlock sees that Mrs. Hudson is being held hostage. While I've talked about the fall theme before, I haven't yet in this video, so as a refresher, it sounds like this. It signifies Sherlock being emotionally compromised because of one of Moriarty's schemes, his fear of Moriarty burning out his heart. And since he's emotionally raw right now, what better theme to play than the fall theme? It's a reminder that his loved ones aren't safe. John's theme plays once again when he arrives back at Baker Street. And tying Irene's theme to John and Sherlock's unspoken feelings even more, that theme starts up again when John makes the soft eyes at Sherlock.
Where is it now?
Sherlock's theme plays in the reveal that he made a fake phone.
Thanks anyway.
And John's theme plays when he thinks that Sherlock and Irene are flirting with each other.
I know when it's in my hand.
Oh, you're rather good.
You're not so bad.
After Sherlock unwittingly helps Irene by showing off for John, and has again made a mistake because of his emotions and played into what Moriarty wanted, the fall theme starts up again.
Flight 007.
007, something, 007. What?
I haven't talked at all about the deduction, tension, and crime scene music, but it's notable that the music that plays during Sherlock's and Irene's fireside chat is crime scene music.
Let's have dinner.
Why?
You might be hungry.
I'm not.
Good.
Why would I want to have dinner if I wasn't hungry?
Even though John is missing for this portion of the episode, his theme still carries us through transitions. When Mycroft arrives, we hear his notes play.
The Coventry conundrum. What do you think of my solution?
And when Irene mentions Moriarty, we hear his.
Gave me a lot of advice about how to play the Holmes boys. You know what he calls you?
Irene's theme plays again when Sherlock bests her, and Sherlock brings up John out of the blue, again showing that this theme is really referring to their relationship.
I imagine John Watson thinks love's a mystery to me, but the chemistry is incredibly simple and very destructive.
And the theme plays one last time when Sherlock is alone in Baker Street and has concealed his feelings from John, the same version that played when John made sure he was safe and rested.
The woman.
He wouldn't have grown to understand John's feelings without Irene. That's why he's grateful to her. He still has to hide for now, but thanks to her, one day he and John will be together. The next theme introduced is the Hound theme, which plays right away at the start of the next episode. It tends to be played when Henry is freaking out. But some very interesting things happen with it in relation to John's theme later in the episode. A ways into the episode, John's theme plays when he comments on Sherlock's cheekbones.
Oh, please, can we not do this time?
Do what?
You being all mysterious with your cheekbones and turning your coat collar up so you look cool.
I don't do that.
Yeah, you do.
And probably the funniest moment in the score is when we hear Sherlock's theme as John watches people getting it on.
Oh, Mr. Selden, you've done it again!
Oh, I keep catching it with my belt.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Okay. Now getting back to the Hound theme, like I said, it intermingles with John's theme at more than one point. Like when John mentions that he's worried about Sherlock's mental state.
Because I have another friend who might be having the same problem.
We know that what Sherlock is actually afraid of is Moriarty getting to John, and the score will explicitly link the Hound theme to Moriarty later on, so the melding of these two themes relates to Sherlock's fear. It plays again in the lab scene. Meaning that Sherlock is being motivated by that fear for one reason or another, whether it's to push John away, or even to feel like he's in control, that John isn't really in danger. As Sherlock starts talking about a deeply buried memory, a memory involving a dog, there's really heavy coding related to Redbeard here. John's theme starts playing.
There has to be something.
Redbeard is affecting Sherlock's relationship with John. Real quick, Redbeard is a dog. Just John's theme continues through the Hound deduction. In the Hollow, when Sherlock pulls off Franklin's mask, he sees Moriarty and we hear the Hound theme.
No! Look you! Look you!
Tying Moriarty to the Hound concretely. It is the Devil's Hollow, after all. Finally, at the end of the episode, we hear a blending of Mycroft's and Moriarty's themes again, as Mycroft is forced to let Moriarty go.
All right. Let him go.
Then we get to the Reichenbach Fall. Like the Great Game, there's a lot of interplay between John and Moriarty's themes here, with Sherlock's, Mycroft's, and the Fall theme all mixed in there. The cold open has John's heartbreak theme, telling us that something is deeply wrong even before John says that Sherlock is dead. As usual, Sherlock's theme plays for the cases.
Back together with my family.
And it plays again when John tells Sherlock to stay out of the news, telling us that Sherlock is up to something.
Stay out of the news.
Moriarty's theme first plays when his face is shown, and plays again when Sherlock calls him a spider.
He's a spider. Spider at the center of a web. Criminal web with 1,000 threads.
When Sherlock and Moriarty are both locked up. And again when Sherlock turns away from John, looking afraid at whatever Moriarty is planning.
Somehow this is part of his scheme.
When Sherlock stays back from the trial and is laying on the sofa, almost praying to himself that Moriarty gets convicted, we hear John's theme, showing us that he's the reason that he wants to be free from Moriarty.
Of the jury. James Moriarty stands accused.
Moriarty's theme is all over the conversation between him and Sherlock in 221B.
You know, when he was on his deathbed, we heard his son at the piano playing one of his pieces.
Well, you know, you've got John. I should get myself a live-in one.
Where are you?
Except there's a more permanent destination. Because I owe you a fall, Sherlock.
But when we transition away from that scene, it's John's theme that plays, again showing us where Sherlock's heart is. When they head to the chocolate factory to save the children and Sherlock is unwittingly cementing his own downfall, the fall theme starts playing again.
Spread out, please. Spread out.
Later, when they're leaving New Scotland Yard and Sherlock says he wants his own cab, John's theme plays, backing up what I said about Sherlock wanting to be separated from John so he can't reveal his feelings.
This is my cab, you get the next one.
Why?
You might talk.
When the Serbosalot clip starts up, so does the fall theme.
No.
The music cycles through John's, Moriarty's, and the fall theme for a little while.
Leave it, John.
Sherlock Holmes, I'm arresting you on suspicion of
Doing the explaining in print. It's all here. Conclusive proof.
Let him get away!
Leave him alone!
You.
The music is used in some pretty interesting ways in the scene in the Diogenes Club, like Mycroft's genuine surprise when John shows up being indicated by his notes. And Moriarty's theme overpowering Mycroft's when he talks about how afraid he is of him.
People like him, we know about them, we watch them. But James Moriarty, the most dangerous criminal mind the world has ever seen. And in his pocket, the ultimate weapon, a key code. A few lines of computer code that can unlock any door.
When Mycroft admits to being helpless to save Sherlock at this point, the fall theme plays once again.
I'm sorry.
Oh.
Tell him, would you?
And now we get to the roof scene. When Sherlock is talking about the computer code like it will solve everything, Moriarty's theme plays, showing that at this point, Moriarty has totally outsmarted him.
No. It's too easy. It's too easy. There is no key. Doofus!
His theme plays again when Moriarty reveals that Sherlock can't escape by killing him because his friends are in danger.
Unless my people see you jump.
When Sherlock has a glimmer of hope that he might be able to convince Moriarty to let him escape and starts laughing in relief, we hear John's theme, the reason for that relief.
What? What is it?
And the fall music plays when Moriarty says, "You're me," showing that this is all what Moriarty wanted.
You're me? Thank you.
Like I pointed out in the episode breakdown for TRF, as Sherlock steps up to the ledge, a heartbroken version of John's theme plays as a duet between violin and piano. They are both about to be left heartbroken and alone.
Nobody could be that clever.
You could.
As Sherlock jumps, the fall theme plays one last time for the episode. The rest of the episode is filled with John's heartbreak theme. With one last bit of relief with Sherlock's theme, when it's revealed that he's alive and will return to John. There's a lot of John's theme in The Empty Hearse. From the Shirlali kiss, to Sherlock talking about returning to London,
Just put me back in London. Need to get to know the place again, breathe it in, feel every quiver of its beating heart.
One of our men died getting this information.
to the ultimate John chords playing as Sherlock stares out over London. Irene's theme is also once again tied to John and Sherlock's unspoken feelings, as John regretfully looks at the staircase and remembers their first case together.
That was the most ridiculous thing I've ever done.
You invaded Afghanistan.
At the restaurant, we hear the Watson Waltz for the first time, and since it plays after John has ignored Sherlock and before Mary even appears, it's already clear that this song is about Sherlock missing John. We hear John's theme with angry undertones when he finally looks at Sherlock.
Interesting thing, a tuxedo. There's distinction to friends and anonymity to waiters.
The Watson Waltz plays again when Mary promises to talk John around, and Sherlock deduces her. In the old days, Sherlock would have been the one talking John around. He's already missing him. John's theme plays as Greg hugs Sherlock, showing that Sherlock is thinking of John in this moment and wishing he had reacted this way. It continues to play as John angrily stares up at the ceiling, thinking of Sherlock. This was actually pointed out to me by a commenter, but the music that plays during the Shuriarty kiss is actually the fall theme in a major key, showing that this is the goal of all of Moriarty's scheming. John's chords play again during the Jack the Ripper case, highlighting just how much Sherlock is missing John.
Why would someone go to all that trouble?
Why indeed, John?
The score connects the train bomb to John's kidnapping, even though on a surface read the two are completely unrelated. So what, or rather who, might be behind both of these things tying them together? As Sherlock rides to save John, we hear intense John notes. the theme turns softer as Sherlock cups John's face.
John! John!
John!
John!
Since the train bomb is symbolic of a heart, it makes sense that we hear John's theme a lot in this scene.
Oh my God. This is it. Oh my God. That off.
Oh, God.
What? I can't do it, John. You were the best and the wisest man that I have ever known.
The score also hints at what parts of the Lazarus explanation are real. The fall music plays for the portions that are actually true, and not for any of the lies.
Mycroft fed Moriarty information about me. Moriarty, in turn, gave us hints, just hints, as to the extent of his web. I had to make him believe he'd beaten me, utterly defeated me, and then he'd show his hand. Each of them were rigorously worked out and given a code name. I contacted my brother, set the wheels in motion. It was vital that John stayed just where I'd put him. That way his view was blocked by the ambulance station. I needed to hit the airbag, which I did. The airbag needed to be got out of the way just as John cleared the station. But we needed him to see a body. That's when Molly came in. Then, our well-timed cyclist put John briefly out of action. The rest was just window dressing. And one final touch. Squash ball under the armpit. Apply enough pressure, and it momentarily cuts off the pulse. Everything was anticipated, every eventuality allowed for. It worked perfectly. And I provided the other code. I've got lots of codes.
What about the sniper aiming at John?
Mycroft's men intervened before he could take the shot. He was invited to reconsider. As I explained, the whole street was closed off. Like a scene from a play.
Sherlock's adventure theme plays for the reveal that he had turned the bomb off. And later John's theme plays during the conversation at the bottom of the stairs, making it even more emotionally loaded.
I was there.
I asked you for one more miracle. I asked you to stop being dead.
I heard you.
But the music transitions to Sherlock's theme as he leaves to go be Sherlock Holmes. At the start of The Sign of Three, the Watson Waltz is again tied to Sherlock losing John when we see Sherlock dancing alone, imagining John in his arms.
Shut up, Mrs. Hudson.
And John's notes poignantly play as Sherlock stares at his empty chair. Now, if there was ever a time for the Watson Waltz to play, it would be as they leave the chapel, but instead we hear Sherlock's theme, subliminally wedging him between the union.
The newlyweds. Just the bride and groom, please.
Sherlock? Oh, sorry.
When Sherlock recounts his adventures with John, we hear John's theme.
What is that? A French decathlete found complete.
And tellingly, when Sherlock talks about love affairs, we hear the Johnlock theme for the first time in a while.
Oh, she's coming back. She's a client. She's boring. I've seen those symptoms before. Oscillation on the pavement always means there's a love affair. And of course, I have to mention the elephant in the room.
Sherlock's theme plays both as they leave Mary to go investigate a military base, and again when Sherlock arranges a stag night just for the two of them, going on a personally themed pub crawl. When Sherlock stops in the middle of his speech to have a huge realization, we hear John's theme as he talks about John's secret middle name.
Henry?
Shut up.
Humphrey?
Shut up.
Higgins?
We briefly hear Irene's theme again, but since this whole realization is actually about John, it just cements the theme as being about Sherlock and John's feelings.
John Hamish Watson. Just if you were looking for baby names.
God knows where she is. Out of my head. I am busy.
The final scene of the episode starts with Sherlock playing the Watson Waltz, as he's literally burning in his heartbreak. At the start of his last vow, John's theme plays as he has a wet dream about the war and Sherlock.
A lot of injuries then. Violent deaths.
Enough for a lifetime.
Want to see some more?
Oh, God, yes.
The game is on.
Sherlock's theme then takes over for a little while, since he's in the middle of a big plan.
Come for me too.
Just some guy. And it's probably just an addict in need of a fix.
Yes, I think in a way it was.
Is it a shirt?
Trying to recruit you. Stay out of my bedroom.
We shift back to John's theme when Sherlock and Janine are flirting, though.
Don't you go letting on.
I might just, actually. I haven't told Mary about this. I kind of wanted to surprise her.
In the scene when Sherlock is shot and is desperately trying to survive, the score is hugely important and tells us a lot. For starters, when Mind Palace Molly tells Sherlock he needs to fall, the fall theme starts playing.
Fall now.
See, during Reichenbach, Sherlock just faked his death. Here, Sherlock will actually have to pull off a miracle and come back to life. He will, though, for John. First, he has to survive the pain. When Sherlock faces Moriarty in his Mind Palace, we're reintroduced both to Moriarty's theme.
You always feel it, Sherlock.
And the Hound theme.
But you don't have to fear it.
Those themes both represent Moriarty. This part of the scene rounds off with the fall theme playing one last time.
Come on, Sherlock. Just die, why can't you? One little push.
Again, this would be the end of Sherlock if not for his love for John. And as Sherlock ascends the staircase and pulls himself back to life, you can hear John's notes echoing through the background of the score.
Oh, you're not getting better, are you?
Was it something I said, huh?
After Sherlock goes into cardiac arrest, you can hear a melancholy version of John's theme playing as he glares at Mary for causing this. Sherlock's theme starts playing when he reveals he had a plan for this entire Christmas get-together.
Mary, can you hear me?
Don't drink Mary's tea.
Things go wrong though, and it looks like Sherlock will have to leave John forever. John's theme is all over the tarmac scene. Most poignantly, it plays when Sherlock talks about the thing he always wanted to say and never did, making it extremely clear what that thing was.
John, there's something I should say. I've meant to say always and I never have. Since it's unlikely we'll ever meet again, I might as well say it now.
Now we get to The Abominable Bride. The first part of the episode is just the score hitting the same beats it did in A Study in Pink. We hear John's theme for his nightmare, and the Victorian version of Sherlock's theme for their meeting scene.
I also play the violin and smoke a pipe. I presume that's not a problem.
Oh, well.
And you're clearly acclimatized to never getting to the end of a sentence. We'll get along splendidly. Tomorrow evening, 7 o'clock then. Oh, and the name is Sherlock Holmes, and the address is 221B Baker Street.
One of the other funniest parts of the score is Sherlock saltily playing the Watson Waltz as he watches John and Mary argue.
It was an affair of international intrigue.
It was a murdered country squire.
Nevertheless, matters were pressing.
I don't mind you going, my darling. I mind you leaving me behind.
But what could you do?
Well, what do you do? Except wander around, taking notes, looking surprised.
Oh boy. Marital discord. Good. John's theme plays as they leave Mary behind,
which one can so rarely say of a morgue.
And am I just to sit here?
Not at all, my dear. We'll be hungry later. Holmes, just one thing. Tweeds in a morgue?
Needs must when the devil drives, Watson.
And later Sherlock's theme is playing as John sits alone at his house. Sherlock, my guy. Stop. John's theme plays on the transition to the greenhouse scene, showing us just what that conversation will really be about.
Exactly. Did you bring it?
Of course.
And come, Watson, come. The game is afoot.
When Moriarty starts slipping into the dream, so does his motif.
Moriarty may beg to differ.
He's trying to distract me, to derail me.
Yes.
John's theme is what's playing for the floating newspapers, though. Sherlock's trying to resolve something related to John here. When Moriarty arrives at 221B, predictably his theme is all over the place.
Stop this. You don't care about Sir Eustace or the bride or any of it. There's only one thing in this whole business that you find interesting. Impossible. But she did it. And you need to know how. How?
As Sherlock wakes up, we hear an intensely romantic version of John's theme. Back in the dream, when they head off to save Mary, Sherlock's theme plays, again showing that he's up to something.
You're Sherlock Holmes. Wear the damn hat.
When Moriarty appears again, so does his theme.
Peekaboo. No, not you. Can't be you.
And like everything else, to me the most interesting parts of the score in this episode occur in the waterfall scene and after. You might expect this reimagining of Sherlock's fall to lead in with the fall theme or even Moriarty's theme, but instead we get John's. This entire scene is about Sherlock's feelings for John. When John swoops in to save Sherlock, a brassy, heroic version of his theme plays.
It's always just you and me!
Professor, if you...
Which then smoothly transitions to Sherlock's theme in a way the score hasn't done in quite a while.
I do believe he finds your attention a shade annoying.
That's not fair. There's two of you.
There's always two of us. Don't you read the Strand? On your knees, Professor. Hands behind your head.
It goes back to John's just as effortlessly.
Time you woke up, Sherlock. I'm a storyteller. I know when I'm in one.
Of course you do, John.
So what's he like? The other me, in the other place.
Smarter than he looks.
Sherlock has acknowledged to himself that he needs to let John in, that they can overcome anything if they work together. And as Sherlock lets himself fall, what else do we hear but John's chords? Sherlock's adventure theme starts up as they leave the tarmac, but it's interrupted by Watson questioning Holmes' imagined future.
Flying machines, these telephone contraptions? What sort of lunatic fantasy is that?
Watson has the power to stop Holmes in his tracks, to supersede even a case. I've mentioned this several times, but the main message to take away from this last scene is that the entirety of BBC Sherlock can be read as the original canon Holmes dream. The score carries that across beautifully, with the Victorian version of Sherlock's theme seamlessly transitioning to the modern one as the scenery outside likewise transforms into modern London. Which leaves us with one last song, the one that plays at the end of every episode and over every title sequence. I'm sure you've recognized the John Locke theme by now. After all, the composers wanted it to be the first song you thought of when you thought of the show. For the title sequence, they didn't pick Sherlock's adventure theme, but instead the effortless melding of John and Sherlock's themes together. That, to me, is the most convincing piece of evidence that the score has to offer. The heart of the show, what it's all about, is the interplay between those two motifs, and the relationship between the two men they represent. Every time the credits play, we're told that the show centers around John and Sherlock's relationship in a way that's more concrete than anything else in the score, and it plays at full volume twice an episode. Like every other element in the show, the score always leads back to John Locke. Believe it or not, I cut out so much in this explanation. There are entire themes that I didn't even get into, but these are the most important musical cues pointing to John and Sherlock's relationship. I really hope you enjoyed this episode. Even though I felt like I was just rushing through to cover as much as I could, I hope it all still made sense. A huge thank you again to my friend Dan, the Celestial Mother, for helping me research for this video. Please go check him out. Thank you also to Tycho Bryan for letting me reference that meta on Don DeStasio Landa. Next up is a video on how this entire movement started in early 2014. And then I'll be talking about the episode that started it all, The Sign of Three. I hope you're looking forward to those. Until then, thank you so much for watching, and get ready to believe.